Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching me from. I am Philip Oladejo, the Executive Director of the Global Authors Club and the Business Award UK. Right, this afternoon is now evening here in the UK. Is exactly 1 minute past 6 p.m. in the UK here. And tonight, I have with me an incredible speaker, a property guru that will be speaking to us tonight on the topic, the journey to greatness, our success story. So tonight, I want you to sit tight, have your pen and paper ready to write because we are ready to rumble. Right, so tonight I have an incredible uh, property guru from here in the UK, in the person of Dr. Daniel Moses, the founder and the executive director of the PW. So he's going to be speaking to us tonight about his journey, the journey to greatness. So just before then, if you're watching, could you share this broadcast? This is the Global Authors Show where we showcase intelligent people and great people who have traveled the journey, who have gone through all these hardship and they have come out at the other side. As they say, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So, all of you who are watching, I want you to understand that there will always be light at the end of the tunnel. So, don't fret, don't be discouraged. Whatever you are doing, knowing fully well, when you consistently doing, working towards your goal, one day, somehow, you will get there. So, I am Philip Oladejo, the Executive Director of the Global Authors Club and the Business Award UK. Just to let you guys know, if you're in the UK, on the 28th of October, 28th of October 2022, we are holding the LinkedIn Hangout and the Global Authors Club Business Award Networking. So check the details on my LinkedIn page, Philip Oladejo on LinkedIn for details, or the Global Authors Club or Academy, Business Academy on LinkedIn. So we are about to go and bring my guest in. Just right. Okay, we have the man himself online. Wow, Dr. Daniel Moses. Well, listen, I am not going to say much about this amazing, incredible, intelligent property guru. Wow, I read the story. I was dazed. It was a jaw-dropping story of an incredible phenomenon journey. So sit tight, share the broadcast, let people understand that the journey of 1,000 miles can just begin with just a step. Okay, so first and foremost, let me just ask Dr. Moose, Dr. Daniel, please just give us a quick introduction of who is this man, Dr. Daniel. Who's this man? Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip, for inviting me. Just in case you're wondering why my eyes was on the other side, I was literally trying to share as well, so at least people who follow me can obviously tune in.
Yeah.
So yes, my name is Moses. I am a born-bred Nigerian who in just about 19 years ago, in search for a better life, greener pasture, as you call it, and that was just my journey. So, but today, as we go into the community, if you want to ask any questions around that, but I am the corporate head CEO of the Property Wealth Corporation. Within we have multiple subsidiaries, from Property Wealth Education, Property Wealth Capital, and all these businesses are business that has been to kind of collaborate with one another with different types of strategy. So we go from education, where on Property Wealth Education, we educate them in their property journey, mentor them, and give them the tool that is needed to add portfolio, whilst the other businesses are created around property management, and also my wealth legacy company, which acquire assets to obviously building my own personal and family legacy. Right, and also just before I forget, I also run the Wealth Course, and also an Amazon best-selling author, and I host and core the Wealth and Business Networking events, and I run so many other events every now and then to help those who are looking to build their wealth for greatness and to take them through that journey and help them get to where they want to get to.
Great. Good stuff. I love that. I love that introduction. And I just want to throw more lights. And you are obviously in Nigeria, right? How was life? Because people are watching now, think that they know Dr. Daniel now. So I want people to understand, who was that Dr. Daniel in Nigeria? How was the life in Nigeria? How did you enjoy the life in Nigeria? We want to just give a glimpse of understanding so that people can understand that it doesn't matter where you were born, it doesn't matter how it all started, that you can make great things.
Yeah.
That you can make great things out of nothing. Okay? So that is the story that we want to hear from Dr. Daniel, that he was born in Nigeria, as you all know, in Africa, and the life in Africa is like every other life. Is difficult. There's no jobs, and employment is difficult, and finance difficult. So we want to understand how was the life in Nigeria growing up. So Dr. Daniel will be sharing with us when he returns back to the broadcast on his life back in Nigeria, in Africa. How did he survive the trouble, the stress? Because people are watching now and listen to the story. I wanted to understand the where the whole story started from. So behind every glory there is a story, as they say. So when we have Dr. Daniel back online on the broadcast, he's going to be sharing with us his life back in Africa. Was he rosy? Was he born into a rich family? Was he born with a silver spoon? Was he born into a rich family? What happened? For most average Africans, life is not straightforward. But Dr. Daniel Moses has managed, like myself, we've managed to wriggle our way, walk our way to where we are today. And that is the message that we want to share with every one of you that will be watching, that tough time don't last, but tough people do. I'll repeat myself. If you're watching this afternoon, tonight, this evening, this morning, wherever the time is in your zone, I can repeat this now, that tough time don't last. Tough time don't last, but tough people do. So no matter what you are going through right now, maybe your life is not working exactly the way it should work. Your businesses are not working the way it should be. Dr. Daniel has a story, a compelling story. So Dr. Daniel is back here. And good to see you back online.
I was literally hearing other questions, but
Yes,
I couldn't hear you, so I had to disconnect because I couldn't hear you anymore.
fantastic.
And I turned back, I can hear you, but it can't hear me. Anyway, I got the question. I got the question, so you don't have to repeat yourself.
Just
Great.
tell us, how was life growing up in Nigeria?
Thank you so much for that. I mean, it's a great way to really look at it because the truth is, when you get to hear a lot of interviews and you hear a lot of people share their success, but there is a story before the success.
Yes,
All right, there is a journey before the success. One of the things I'm very passionate about is storytelling because it's quite important to tell your story, who you are, because you
absolutely.
don't just wake up to become successful. You don't wake up to become rich because success is a journey,
Yes,
right? And obviously, at the moment, we are in a social media age where people watch what you see or listen to what they hear online, and they think that obviously you can just become successful tomorrow. No, in order for you to become successful today, you have to go through the sweat, the tears, the pain, all right? And you have to have the ability to build strong resilience in order for you to actually become, a person that can actually be of influence to others. So for me, my story and my journey, I was born and bred in a state called Edo State, Nigeria. And I went to primary school, went to secondary school, went to University of Benin. And I think while I was in University of Benin, this was when I got into my first year in the university because I studied sociology. I wanted to study law. To be
right.
honest, I wanted to study law, but at that time, I became quite too business oriented. So I didn't get the I didn't get the law admission I was looking to do. So I think this is where my entrepreneurship mindset actually started. Can you hear me?
Yes,
So, and I couldn't get into law. I eventually just got into University of Benin anyways, and I was admitted into a department called sociology and anthropology. So I ended up studying sociology and anthropology. To be honest, I never actually used it because I became a full-time business entrepreneur. So anyway, it was good that I went to school. It was good that I have a degree, but I never really used it. But the truth is that it forms part of the principles that I actually have today, my perception, and my intelligence and my intellectuals, of who I've become today. So I studied sociology, and I remember through my very first year, 1 year, 2 year, three, I became quite around, good people, people who were also quite interesting to be around because whilst I was in university, I sold anything sellable apart
right.
from drugs. Okay, apart from drugs. So I sold anything sellable. I will sell clothes, I will sell cars, I will sell anything. I will even organize parties and people will come, they will pay to get into those parties. And those were the kind of things that I did. So I became quite very influential. I became very popular in university. So now that in itself being popular has its own challenges because the challenges around there was that I became attracted to group of individuals. So whilst I became attracted to a group of individuals, I became a bit volatile because now I needed to have a group of boys around me because if I don't have this group of individuals around me, I could be beaten or I could be kidnapped or all these kind of things. So at that point, I became, around a group of individuals. In today's world, they will call it a gang,
Right.
or a court. So at that time, I became around these individuals, and so they will protect me, you know, and life was good for the first couple of time I became around these individuals. But
towards the end of my university age, I discovered that actually these individuals were having the wrong impact. The wrong impact is that there's always fighting in schools, killing one another, all these things. So at this stage in my life, the people who I thought I was surrounded by that would protect me, or people who I was surrounded by that I thought, it became the worst nightmare. All right. The worst nightmare here was that, people on people fighting one another. So I said to myself, at this point in stage of my life, I've got to escape.
Yeah.
I've got to leave this country before I get killed. I can't do the parties anymore. So I remember coming, getting my visa and coming back into the UK. And for the first time, this was in 2004, came to this country and, what am I going to do? I was born and bred in quite a decent family. I wouldn't say I was born into a rich family. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say my father was a rich man, or neither my mother was a very, very rich people, but I was born in an average family.
Okay.
Whilst in school, while in the university, my brothers, my cousins, my nephews, they will bring things from overseas, Japan,
Mm.
Germany, all these different places. They will import all these things. So like I said, I would just sell anything sellable, you
Wow.
know. And whilst I escaped out of Nigeria into the UK, um, now, in a foreign country where, again, the UK, I had no brother, I had no sister, I had no auntie, I had no one, literally no one.
Wow.
So I just came. So when I got in here, I met a few friends of a friend. They accommodated me, and I remember used to sleeping on the floor. Now I'm afraid to going back to Nigeria. I ended up spending about 2 months. I was on a visiting visa, so you can't overstay that visa. So I had to find a way back again to Nigeria, then to come back. I remember going back to Nigeria, and I've never shared this story before. I remember when I went back to Nigeria in 2005, this January in 2005, the people who I thought I had actually run away from, actually got me, but I was so lucky I wasn't killed. I remember when they got me, and at about 8 o'clock in the evening, and putting a gun to the middle of my chest and was going to shoot me. Was
Wow.
actually going to kill me. I've actually never ever shared this story anyway, not even on my own podcast. And I was with my cousin Edwin, and they put a gun to my head, was going to shoot me. Actually, the guy did try to shoot the gun, but it never shot. So basically, he pulled the trigger, but the thing did not shoot. It pulled it, and the thing did not shoot. And I then said to myself, "Wow." I can't even imagine it. I was so devastated. And I said, did they just try to kill me? But God being on my side because of where he was taking me to, I never died. And the gun never shot. So, and I came back to the UK, and that gave me the reason why I said, I'm just going to relocate. I'm going to get out of this country. And relocating back fully in 2005, I met my wife. So when I met my wife, it was like almost like a compensation of all those, traumas, all those challenges, and all those things that I thought was good, or all those kind of life where, I had, people that was buying things from me and selling things and all this stuff. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to be in this country. And this just goes, as we're going through this conversation today, you will find a lot of things that success is actually, honestly, it's a really massive journey. So that was that part there. So I then met my wife. When I met my wife in 2005, in a Boss, nice looking woman, fantastic looking woman. We met in a Boss, took her telephone number. No, I met her, and when I met her this time, I was squatting with one of my friends. So I used to sleep on the floor in his house. So, and I used to squat there, and I met my wife. So when I met my wife, I remembered the first time we met, she didn't give me a number. And we met again. That was when I took her number. And from the very first time I took her number, I was like, oh my days, I'm going to marry this woman no matter what. I'm going to marry her. And I just said it to myself. And I remember both of us going out on our first date, and we were talking about life, we're talking about everything, and we started to date. And very, very quickly, our relationship really got intense. And I remember proposing to her within the very first few months we met and we got married legitimately 6 months after date, 6 months within when we started dating. So as I went through this journey, I just started to settle in England. I started to settle. I just knew there was something that was for me in this nation rather than in Nigeria.
Wow.
Because I mean, at that time, I was 26 years old. Who gets married within 6 months?
No.
What's that?
No.
Today, we've known ourselves for over 17 years. We've been legally married for over 16 years. We have
Wow.
2 amazing children. We're building our empire together today. So looking back now, if not for what God had in my life, who
Wow.
gets married in 6 months? And
Wow.
marriage is an institution in itself that a lot of people can't keep a good marriage, especially in this age that we are. People just keep partnership. So
Wow.
legally married in court, traditionally Christian, everything, we've done everything today.
Wow.
So settled down as a husband, and now life began. So my story is so massive, I don't even know what angle to come from. But let me stick to this angle. My story is too many that I don't even know what angle to come from. So anyway, cut long story short, my journey as an immigrant ended at that stage because by virtue of my marriage, I became again a resident permit to live in the country legally and legitimately. And by also reason with that, I started a business, the business of buying clothes, buying cars, breaking them into spare parts,
Right.
loading them in a van and shipping them back to Nigeria. I remember I would get a van and I would drive along different streets. The used fridges, the used washing machines you see on the street, I would
Yeah.
load them up in a van and I would ship them back to Nigeria. I would buy 406, I would split them into pieces as spare parts, I would ship them back to Nigeria. I was doing all of that. All right. I would ship them back, I would go to Nigeria, I would sell them. So yeah, I did all of that. So for me, I've always been an entrepreneur. So like I said, going to school, I wanted to read law and eventually study sociology. It just added to my intellect. It wasn't that was what I was built for. So I started doing that, and after that, I started to also travel back to Nigeria with clothing, materials, and all of this to sell. And whilst I kept going back and forth and going back and forth in this journey, you know, in 2012, I just literally got tired. I got sick and tired. I started asking myself, I've been trying to make it. I've been trying to be successful. It's not happening here. How many cars do I need to sell? How many clothes do I need to break? You know what? Let me go back to Nigeria. Let me stay probably in Abuja. Let me stay in Lagos. Maybe, something else will happen. Obviously, this is over 8 years, 10 years. Back in those days in university, people wanted to kill me. They're no longer there now. So that's past. The group of those guys where we were all in school together, everybody's gone now. So nobody's in university and stuff like that. So I started in oil and gas.
Right.
So with the little money I had saved up, I started with oil and gas, and I bought a trailer, that would load petroleum products from the depots and then supply the products to the end user. The end user being the petrol station selling it to the people who will buy it. So basically, I don't know if you've ever seen, like in the UK here, you see those big trucks that come to deliver the product.
Yes.
So that was exactly what I was doing. So I would buy the product with my money. I would then give the product to the petrol station. The petrol station would then sell it to the end user. So I will sell the petrol station to the petrol station. I will make maybe like a 1 naira per liter. So and then they will sell it to the user maybe 3 naira. So I would make 1 naira. So for example, the naira to the pound is a bit different. So that means I'm making about a pound by any petrol that goes into your car. I'm making at least an average of a pound plus any petrol that that how can I really say this now? So the depot will sell it to me at a certain price.
Right.
I will pay maybe 3-4 naira for transportation. I will add my own 4 naira on top. Then I will then also add maybe £2 or £3, for example, to the seller, to the buyer who is buying at the petrol station, and I would then end up making, maybe in the end I'll be making about £7 to £8 profit, by the liter that I sell. So it was quite a very lucrative business.
Yes, it was
And
good.
I hope I'm able to explain it correctly, because I'm trying to bring the Nigeria analogy into the UK.
We got it. We got it.
I'm trying to make sure the UK audience kind of also follow.
Yeah.
And that was what I did. So I started doing that. I was doing it well. Year one was good. Meanwhile, my wife and my kids were back in the UK. So which means every 3 months I had to be back to the UK. So I'll go to Nigeria, spend a couple of months in Nigeria, and I'll come back in month 4. And that was my life. I was doing that. It was really good, because I started to go on holidays. I started to take my family on holiday. We were loving it. I had a driver in Nigeria. I had a security guard. I was living a good life. I had a house. It's good,
Awesome.
And as in Nigeria, you can make so much money very quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
A lot of money.
it comes with its own challenges as well. You can make so much money because there isn't a lot of taxes here and there. It's not the things that we do in Nigeria are not very regulated like that.
Yep.
So you can almost do anything. So it was good. And year 1 was good. Year 2 was good. Year 3, in itself, as different, me not always being around in the life of my children, being, in the life of my wife as well, started to make his own toll. Now, at that particular time, I did not know, that, what was going to happen towards the end of 2015. But towards the end of 2015, because I had been doing this same journey, 2012, 2013, 2014, I had a major incident in my business. I had 2 of my trailers loaded with petroleum products traveling from Lagos to Itakpe. It's called Itakpe. It's in Kogi State, somewhere.
Okay.
2 of my trucks had an accident the same day. They fell into if you're in just after River Niger, there's a big, massive hole, is a ditch. So there was a pothole, and I don't know what exactly happened, but these 2 trucks were driving back to back. For some reason, I don't know whatever happened, 2 of them ran into each other.
Wow.
And then fell into the valley.
Wow.
I remember that.
Wow. Wow.
I remember that night. I'm just trying to hold. I'm just trying to hold. So I remember that night, and my driver calls me at about midnight, and he called me up like, Oga, accident. He spoke in Nigerian language. He's like, Oga, accident, I not die. And he's speaking in Nigerian. He's like, I not die, I live. And I'm like, Paul, what's going on? Calm down, what's happening? Oga, trailer don't explode. I mean, the trailer is exploded.
What? At that point, what came to your mind? You were here, and I just want people to just follow this story, because when you see people who are making it, we've got to understand, not just to.
So I'm sorry I had to do.
Yeah, it's understandable. I got that. It's part of the journey, and it's good for people to understand that in life there will be adversity, but now we need to now overcome. But you overcame the adversity. That is where we want people to understand. We want our viewers to understand that in life, that the journey to success is not sometimes very straightforward. There will be some hard time. There will be some tragedy. So that night when you were called, what was the first thing that came to your mind, and how did you overcome the adversity? That father, you lost something, because there's someone watching who has lost something, and I want them to learn from your story, Dr. Daniel. And I really appreciate the fact that you are actually sharing this story, because there will be someone somewhere who's listening to your story. who has lost something. Many people have committed suicide because they've lost something. They didn't have the guts that you have. So, how did you overcome the adversity? And what was the first thing that came to your mind that night?
So when I got that call from him and he said nobody died, okay, first I think I was quite settled that
Right.
okay, nobody had died. I haven't lost any workers or anything like that. And I said, okay, what happened? Any like the trailer has exploded, it's burning right now. And I'm like, okay, calm down, call the police, get the police, call the police and everything, find the nearest police station, and I said, I'll call you in the morning. I said, just whatever it is, don't call me back. I will call you in the morning. I literally came downstairs and I came downstairs and I just sat down there and I just sat down there and I was just
Like a movie, like a movie.
like I'm trying to think in my own self. I'm just like
What happened?
I then asked myself was is someone after me?
Wow.
I said, who have I was like, who have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? What as I started just I was just questioning. It was who is after me? What have I done wrong? What is it? Is it I over a million question in per second. So over a million questions per second.
Wow.
And eventually I remember my eyes were just open all throughout.
Wow.
And my wife then noticed I was not in the bed, it was not in the room, and she came in she then joined me like at the early hours. And I said, this is what just happened. And it was a period for that period, for like good 3 months, I went through a series of different type of it was just issues after issues after issues after issues of things just like going wrong. And we're talking about a loss of over £150,000 in a single day.
Wow.
And I just said, okay, I just said, okay, no problem. And then we had other incident that took place. And after those incidents, I just said to myself, entrepreneurship wasn't for me. I've been trying to be an entrepreneur all my life. Success was not for me. I've been trying to be successful all my life. I've been trying to be great all my life. So it was just like I had every reason to just quit. And I said, okay, that was good. That was fun. But I've been broken and I'm not going to go down this route. Now, how did I manage all this adversity? I just basically lost so much money. When you lose so much money, when you lose a business, you don't manage it. The truth is, you become depressed.
Wow.
That's the truth. I didn't manage it. I went depressed. I went into depression.
Wow. Wow.
I went into depression. I didn't manage it. I did not come out of the answer. That was just the truth.
Wow. Wow. So you
And
lost.
whilst that was also happening,
Wow.
within a couple of months later, I started to go through other emotional problems, physical problems. My wife has started to go into our problems at work. That had a toll on her. Our marriage started to face a lot of challenges. In fact, during that very year, between 2015 December all the way through to almost the end of 2018, whilst I was going through all these challenges, we had 3 divorce attempts between myself and my wife.
Wow.
We were living from hand to mouth.
Wow.
I was going through depression for 2 years. I was placed on the highest antidepressant dose.
Wow.
I was losing my mind.
Wow.
In fact, at some point, my mind would tell me at 4 o'clock in the evening that I was going to die. Go and say goodbye to your kids.
Wow. Wow.
I would just be on my own. I'm trying to maybe do something. My mind would tell me, oh, look at your lovely daughter. Look at your lovely son. Look at your lovely wife. Go and say your goodbye because you're dying now.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And that was what I went through.
Wow.
2016, even whilst I was an Uber driver, I was going through this.
Wow.
I was going through this. I became a okay. Before I even get to the Uber driver story, so after going through all of this and that happened, I relocated back and I said, you know what, business in Nigeria wasn't for me. I returned back to the UK, and for 3 months I didn't know what to do. And eventually I got a job with Yodel. I became a Yodel driver. I was doing delivery in Yodel to Amazon. I was working with Amazon. From that, a friend of mine then said, oh, Dan, maybe drive Uber. Uber will give you more money. And that was how I ended up becoming an Uber driver towards the end of 2016. So imagine someone that was already generating a business that pays at least over 4 to 5 million naira in Nigeria every single month, and now coming back to the UK, and £2,000 is your problem, £1,000 is your problem. I had to make her meet. I had to make sure my wife is okay, my kids, the bills is being paid. And I have no choice than to quit my job. I might quit my business as an entrepreneur and became a delivery driver. Became an Uber driver.
Wow.
Because I had to keep her neat. And whilst all that was happening, I just concentrated. In fact, I got lost in my job because I started driving Uber for like 18 hours minimum.
What?
Hey. So actually, yes, how I overcame the adversary was I was driving 18 hours a day as an Uber driver. So I barely slept.
So wow, this is wow. I'm really touched by this story. So you've lost £150,000 worth of investment in Nigeria, and then you came back. You were going through that with marriage. I want to quickly go back very quickly. I remember when you say when you were in Nigeria, you venture into different kind of business because you didn't want to depend on people or because these kind of things that we try to resolve, we try to deal with. Many people think that they have to depend on others to survive, or they have this entitlement mentality. But in your case, it wasn't that. You were trying your hand, and I have the same story as that too. So you were trying your hands at everything to ensure that you were not dependent on people to survive, which was really great. So, and I love the attitude because majority of people think that they have to blame somebody else. And I like what you said. You just venture into any kind of business. Sorry,
selling anything.
I love that. So you were in Nigeria, right? With everything happening, you were selling anything that comes your way, apart from drugs, to ensure that you don't depend on anybody, or you don't become like a parasite. Because many people now, because in the same country, in the same Nigeria, in the same Africa, people are still managing to make it. People are selling any kind of things, and you survive. So fast track. There are people, the issues of mental health, depression, okay, and marriage at the same time. I think in your case, you use driving for 18 hours as a way of negating the depression. So
yes,
during the episode of that depression, what did you seek for help, and what did you do?
Well, during the time of that, when I was going through depression, I think the most annoying thing was every time I went to see my doctors, is the way they will look at you.
Wow.
You're telling someone this is what you're going through and they can't understand. They think you're growing mad. You're telling somebody this is what's happening. You can't sleep, and there's a way they look at you. There's a way they just look at you, and they're like, am I speaking English, or am I speaking French, or am I speaking Japanese? I'm speaking English. Don't you see what I'm going through? So whilst I was going through that, for me, now there's something I've come to now learn. Now everything made sense. Whilst I was driving all those long hours and 18 hours, I became closer to God.
Wow.
So what saw me through was prayers. I would go to church, I'll pray, and I would just read my Bible. And that was, how I gradually got out of it.
Right.
So I would pray, and I would just pray. God, is this what I am now? All these ambitions from university, selling anything sellable. Is this my life now? Now, lessons learned through this was one. All right, let's go to school here now. Let's take notes.
Right.
Not every storm that you go
Mm.
through in life come to destroy.
Wow.
Most storm come to make and create a new you.
Mm.
Whilst I went through everything not working for me in Nigeria,
Mm.
it was there to push me, to propel me to the person who I have become. If I was in Nigeria, I don't think I would become a renowned, a speaker who is making so much impact, because I don't think maybe Nigeria had that environment for me to land quite easily the way, I've been able to go through what I'm doing now.
Mm.
I could have probably been very distracted, maybe even get into politics and doing all these things and all these different situation. So I learned something. Not every storm come
Yes.
to destroy. Some come to make and create a new you.
Wow. 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 I love
Number
that.
two, number two, in every storm that we go through in life,
Mm.
it is there to create and redefine the true purpose of which you were created.
Wow.
There is third. The third is, through the storm, there is a lesson. The lesson to greatness.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
this is what came out, because I look backwards and I'm like, I'm- it- it- a lot of people who have been through certain things in life, or what I've been through, would probably lose it by now. And it's just the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
being placed on on 300, and if I'm right, 300 milligram of amitriptyline to go to sleep.
What?
300, which is the highest.
Wow.
And that was what I was on for 2 good years.
What?
For 2 good years, I went through heart palpitation.
Wow.
And the
Wow.
worst would be that I would go to the doctors. They did all, you name it, any kind of scan that they can do in this life. They did it, and there's nothing. And
Wow.
I'm like, what is? It's almost like you see, God is an awesome God. For me, God
Yes.
took me out. God used those to build who I've become today. He used that to build my resilience level.
Wow. 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 Wow.
And finally, everybody that is existing on this planet Earth goes to sleep with a hope to waking up tomorrow. Correct? We go to
Yes.
sleep with a hope to waking up tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yes.
Just like an eagle. When the eagle scaled through the storms to rise above the storm,
Wow. Wow.
it doesn't know how. But challenges in life that befalls us as a human is not to destroy. It's not, it's
Mm.
just there to come and take us to the next level. So for me, when I went through that, when the first time I was going to be, people try to kill me, and all these different situations, it gave birth to the Dr. Daniel Moses that I've become.
Wow. Through the storm.
through the storm, I did not know that God was giving me a voice. God was calling me into this ministry whereby, I mean, today I've created 3 millionaires in less than 2 years in property. Having
Wow.
have a community of property investors that have grown from nothing to something. So
Wow.
if I was still selling oil, and if I was still selling oil, I don't think I would have had so much impact on these people.
Wow. 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 And I'm going to go to that now. So, wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel, for these compelling, amazing uh, stories, things you've been through, depression and all of that. Now, one thing I've seen about you is you have a big heart for people. You I think because of what you've been through, you really, when you get to know you, when you get to meet with you, you have a very good heart towards people. And I would just want you now to just give us a glimpse as we come to the end of the program. Now, PW. Now, so through the storm, so for everyone watching this afternoon or tonight, so the storm has given birth. So something great in you.
Great, and even greater to come.
Greater. So the storm kind of propel you. So after the storm, oh, what? So after the storm, comes the birth of PW. So take us through the journey of PW and where you are now.
Good question. So the journey of PW was a revelation from God. I
Wow.
remember I was coming from Stansted Airport after dropping someone at the airport. And I was falling asleep because, like I said, I was driving over 18 hours. I fell asleep, I was falling asleep on the wheels. So I had to find the nearest service station to park. And I remember driving into this petrol station and, pulling off in the corner and, fell asleep for a couple of, I can't even know I can't remember how long it was. But I fell asleep anyway. I was taking an afternoon nap. I was taking a nap. Whilst I was taking that nap, I was revealed what I'm currently doing in that dream.
Wow.
It was almost like property was what I was meant to do in life. It was
Wow.
almost like I would be speaking to people in life. And I remember waking up and jumping up from that sleep. And I picked up my phone. I was about to pick up the next Uber ride.
Right.
And I turned up my Uber app. I was to take the next ride. And instead of going to my Uber app, I went to Facebook. And
Wow.
there you go, Facebook, an ad popped up in my face. Get started in property with little or no money. I clicked on it, and the event was £70, 2 hours networking event in London.
Wow.
And the story behind that was, I was like, oh my days, this cannot be a coincidence. Again, this is the spirit of discernment. I was able to
Yeah.
discern immediately that this cannot be coincidence. And I had to pay £70 to go to that networking event. This was like 6 years ago. Now you have a lot of free events. 6 years
Yeah.
ago, you don't have so much free events. It's
No,
every event there is paid.
yes.
Now you have a lot of YouTubers everywhere. The amount
Yeah.
of YouTubers that's cropped up in the last 6 years, influencers, you didn't have them
Right.
6 years ago. It's the same way you didn't have them 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Now you can almost get anything for free on the internet.
Wow.
So I remember clicking in, and the only money I had left in my account, I spent it on the ticket.
Wow.
And I went down to London, and that is what gave birth to my journey today. It opened up my world. I remember being in that room in that networking event. I was the only person of color.
Wow. Wow.
I was the only person of color. And everything that was being said in that networking event, none of them made sense
At the time.
at that time. But I said, this is it. And I would never, ever, no matter what it would take me, I will never quit. I'm going to go out there and build a property empire.
Wow. So now let me just come in there. So you went for a networking event and you actually paid. Now, this is what I want to bring something out here. Well, the reason why one thing that drives me is I love to organize a networking event. I love to bring people together. I love to bring. I know that in networking, you hear things that will propel you to do great things. You hear information. It said, if you are informed, if you are informed, you will. If you are informed, you will not be deformed. Majority of people are not informed, and that is why they are deformed. So you paid £70 for a networking event. And from that moment on, because when I came to your event last week, Saturday, it opens my heart to something bigger, because my event, I've only been having an event for over 10 years. But when I came to the Global Wealth Conference last Saturday, my heart was like, boom, let's do it. Boom. So you are reaping the benefit of networking. And from that onward, 6 years ago, now you've built the empire. How is it going now?
I'm so grateful to God Almighty because one thing I've always believed, whenever there's a will,
Yeah,
there is
that's
a
a
way.
way. Yes.
I love that quote. And a few other quotes that I have held, took with me. It says, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Yep, growing.
And it
Absolutely.
says, it's not how many times a man falls, it's how many times you're
Every
able
time
to
you
rise
rise
up.
up.
And that's one of the reasons why I love one of my mentors, Les Brown. It says, when life try to
Yeah.
knock you down, try to
Yep.
land on your back, because if you can
Yep.
look up, you
Yes.
can get up. And I took that with me. And today, I'm so grateful that not only have I built a multi-million pound property portfolio, which is currently still growing, I have also created property millionaires. One
Wow.
of my students, Anthony Howell, took it from zero. Currently, his net worth is about 2.5 million. Charlie
Wow.
Ray Smith from zero, his net worth is currently almost about £1 million. Two property in his portfolio. Anthony Howell, over 3-4 properties in his portfolio. Mariam from zero to £500,000. A lot of people of color who never actually thought that you can actually go into property with nothing, but as long as you
Right.
come with the mindset to leverage.
Yes.
So for me, it's going so well because I'm building a community. I have a community of, people who
Millionaires.
I'm building a community of where, who knows, 10 years time, money would never be a problem.
Yes.
Assets would never be a problem.
Absolutely.
You actually even know one of my students, Femi.
Yes.
Femi
Yes.
went from
Yes.
zero to now controlling one property that he doesn't own, puts £1,000 in his pocket. 2 weeks ago, he just acquired his first property under
Wow.
my mentorship. So that's what
Wow.
now builds me. What builds me is, if you go and dig deeper, our mantra is building people, building people, creating opportunities, and building wealth. So we're building people. We're telling people you can use debt to create wealth. What is England using to get out of this current recession? More borrowings.
Wow.
So I did not have £1,000 when I started my journey, but today my payroll on a month out is over £10,000. People on my payroll every
Wow.
single month.
Wow. Wow. We are still going to bring you back. I see one too. Now, I still want to get more information, and I want people to understand, because in this journey, I guarantee you, Doctor, we are going to build. We're going to build the empire together. We are still going to have you here, and we're going to have just focus on the property and your mentorship and your programs as well. So I'm going to definitely bring you back onto this show. This is a high opener. If you're watching tonight, this morning, wherever it is, where you are, this is Dr. Daniel Moses, the founder and the director of the property,
Property Wealth Corporation.
yeah, Property Wealth Corporation in United Kingdom. Wow, Property Wealth Corporation in the United Kingdom. And guess what? We are still going to have Dr. Daniel back on this show, because we want people to have the mindset about property, to change their conception about property, to know that, listen, you can do the same thing. you can do the same thing. You can build wealth for yourself. So, Doctor, as we come to an end, the last word, just the last advice for the people who are watching, or those who are going to be watching, who are going through depression or going through a tough time now, what will be your advice to the people?
The advice is very simple. Like I said, not all storm
Mm,
come to destroy.
for you.
Most storm come to make. No matter what you're going through in life right now, even if you have the last £1 in your pocket, have a will, because when you have a will, the
Yes.
way will show up.
Yes.
I am someone that has built an empire and still growing. It's a small empire, we're just going into 8 figures. By February next year, God willing, will be our net worth will be over 8 million. And we anticipate by the end of the year will be about 10 million, you know.
Wow. Wow.
So have the will, have faith that anything is possible. If the mind is big enough to conceive it,
You can achieve it.
you can achieve it.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Moses. So, if your mind can conceive it, then you can achieve it. And that's the word from the legend himself. And if your mind can conceive it, then you can achieve it. And have the will to start again. Have the will to start again. So, thank you so much this afternoon or this evening, Dr. Daniel. We are still going to bring you back on board to focus now on those that want to go into property, how to do it, and what are the ways, how to contact you. So, if we need to contact you, Dr. Daniel Moses, how can they reach you?
Well, the easiest way to reach me, just go onto my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Okay. Go onto my YouTube channel, go on YouTube and just search for Dr. Daniel Moses. There you go with my YouTube channel. I do a
Yep.
lot of videos, both on life, on marriage, on business, everything. I'm an all-rounder, because if you're not successful in these things, you cannot create wealth. If you're not happy at home, you cannot create wealth. If your kids it's not sorted out, you cannot create. There's so many of these elements. So I showcase my life. I document my entire life. So go on my YouTube channel and also go on the Wealth and Business podcast on Spotify. So go on Spotify and search for Wealth and Business podcast, and for you to obviously listen into a lot of my content, as well as every quarterly we organize a networking event, because the networking event gave birth to everything that we have today. So we run a wealth and business event where we basically talk to people, we bring speakers, and we collaborate, we network, and we get together, And so those are the easiest way to kind of find me. So go on Eventbrite, actually go on our website, www.propertywe.co.uk. So www.property as in property.we.co.uk. So I have to say phonetically like that so people can kind of get the spellings correctly. So we.co.uk, so that you can search what we do. There's so many ways that we work with people. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on your show, my brother.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel. Right, for you guys watching us, just on the 28th of October, there is a LinkedIn Hangout and business networking event in London at in London, Holiday in High Street, Kensington, at on the 28th of October, time 6 p.m. And Dr. Daniel will be also there. We have amazing, amazing people. It's LinkedIn Hangout and the Global Authors Club Business Networking Evening. And at the same time, we are celebrating the Black History Month as well. So if you want to meet with Dr. Daniel, make sure you attend the networking event on the 28th of October, 2022. From me, Philip Odadejo, the founder of the Global Authors Club and the Business Award UK, and the director of the company. So thank you for watching the show. Dr. Daniel, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Until I come your way again, have a lovely afternoon. Thank you so much. Remain blessed. Thank you.
Thank you.